Hello, everybody. My name is Sukhmen Nijjar, and I'm an advisor for Genobank, and we'll be hosting today's introductory webinar, where we hope to help investors understand what a digital security or security token is, and how they are upgrading the inefficient paper-based process used in private markets by making it digital. I'd like to start by welcoming each and every one of our investors who are tuning in. To date, our crowdfunding campaign on Republic has reached almost $400,000 from over 1,200 investors around the world. Your support inspires us to continue our effort in providing everyone with control and security over your DNA. First, I'd like to introduce the CEO and co-founder of Genobank, Daniel Uribe, who will tell us a little bit about Genobank and why we're so excited about using digital securities. Daniel?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure and honor to be with you. I'd like to thank Jamie, Carlos Domingo, and Arabi and all the Securitize team for allowing us to have this webinar together. So as Sukhmen mentioned, we are using digital securities instead of traditional paper-based contracts and Excel sheets to issue and manage the equity of Genobank. So we are very excited about the power, the efficiency, and the opportunity of digital securities. So at the end of the day, we would love to explore and be one of the pioneers of this new world that will also empower our investors to have more traceability of their digital assets with us. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Daniel. Because digital securities are new and can be quite complicated to explain, we've invited Jamie Finn, the president and co-founder of Securitize, to help us explain what they are and how they work. Hello, Jamie. Thanks for joining us today. Could you please give us a quick introductory of you and Securitize?
Absolutely, and thanks, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, I'm happy to tell you a little bit about Securitize. So we are about a 3-year-old fintech company based out of San Francisco with about 50 employees, and we specialize in essentially the creation of digital securities and helping issuers manage their cap tables and make sure that everything stays compliant. So overall, it's a new kind of product suite that enables companies to be able to manage their cap table and offers very transparent visibility to investors to be able to see exactly what they've invested and how they've invested in any information that the company wants to share with them.
Great. So thanks for that. Let's talk a little bit about digital securities, security tokens. First off, why are there so many names? Are they securities? Are they security tokens? Can you talk a bit more about that?
Sure. I think this is the legacy of kind of where the world of digital kind of started. But from our point of view, they're digital securities because they represent an investment in a company, and so they represent actually the ownership of a share or equity in the company. So that's essentially what they do. The digital security essentially is an evolution of what originally started out as paper-based security. So back in olden times, and actually for quite a few hundred years, that everybody got an actual physical piece of paper to represent their share. And this share was actually certificated, so it had a number on it. So it would say share 1, share 2, share 3. And these are kind of the traditional paper-based securities. From there, we then evolved and we moved from paper-based securities to book entry securities. And so book entry securities are essentially the same idea, but instead of having it in a physical piece of paper with a number on it, you actually just have an entry in a ledger that says how many shares you have of something next to your name. Now, obviously, that type of product has many weaknesses, including our hands. And if we fat finger something, we can change the whole cap table. And really, there's no other record to prove any different, except if somebody were to go back in time and look exactly what had happened. So what's now coming online and what we're doing is essentially taking these book entry shares and creating a verifiable, independently verifiable digital asset, which is a security. And we call them digital securities for that reason. And that essentially allows you to have an independent verification that you have the right amount of shares. And anytime shares change hands, that's kept up to date in a place which is immutable. It can't be changed artificially by a single person. In fact, it can't be changed by anybody. It's all done via software.
Great. And if someone's listening in who's not really aware of the space, in a sentence or less, like what is a digital security?
It's a share of a company.
Great. Awesome. And we get a lot of investors asking us about legislation, legal frameworks around digital securities. Can you talk a bit more about that for a moment?
Absolutely. So Securitize is a SEC registered transfer agent, which means we are a regulated entity in the United States by the SEC, which is the government body that regulates all securities companies and all securities transactions. So the asset that we create is actually was legalized as a product during Hurricane Sandy. So back in, I can't remember exact year, but Hurricane Sandy struck New York, and a lot of these paper-based securities, which I spoke about earlier, were actually wiped out through flooding. And so the SEC decided to authorize digital shares to become kind of a legal product. So at that point, you no longer needed a piece of paper to represent your ownership. And so that was really the moment in time when these types of securities were created. And now the digital securities, as long as they're issued properly, maintained properly in terms of the amount of investors, all the regulations around that, which hasn't changed. It's exactly the same as it always has been for equities. You're fully compliant and everything is absolutely just a normal product. It just has some really wonderful benefits. There's some opportunities for liquidity, which are fantastic. And there's just better safety insofar as the investor knows exactly what they have and nobody can change it on them without their own authorization to do so.
Right. Great. And then regarding the issuers and the investors themselves, what are the specific advantages of digital securities?
Yeah, so for an issuer, essentially what they have is a very elegant way to keep track of exactly who their shareholders are. And through that, because they know exactly who their shareholders are, they have the ability to communicate with them very easily. So if you own shares in a public company, for example, the public company doesn't know who you are. They can't communicate with you. In fact, all of your shares are probably held in a omnibus account inside of one of the large brokerage houses, like it could be Robinhood, it could be Goldman Sachs, it could be anybody. But you are not a person on their cap table. The only thing that appears on their cap table is Robinhood, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. You don't exist to them. There's no way for them to communicate directly with you. So therefore, there are companies that specialize in discovering exactly who you are to be able to ask you questions. But in our world, we don't have that problem. So we keep track of exactly who everybody is. We know their email address. We have their address. And we can communicate them with them very easily. And additionally, we provide a dashboard for the investor. So why is it better for the investor? Is that they can log into a dashboard just like you log into any website, see your holdings, and get information directly from the company that's communicating directly with you. So that's a direct one-to-one relationship that's actually better for both the investor and the issuer.
Right. Great. Well, thanks a lot, Jamie. Appreciate it. Thanks for helping us understand what a security token is. For Daniel, I have a question for you. Why would a company like Genobank decide to issue a digital security rather than a traditional?
No, thank you very much, Suk. So the main idea of this new world is to start using kind of wallets, right? This dashboard for me that Securitize offers is more like a wallet where to hold and see and trace all your digital securities from maybe hopefully different companies. But mainly to answer your question, I would like to address three main ones. The first one is compliance, right? So compliance for us is super important. So that, and these Web3 kind of solutions will also give us access to world's capital, right? Because now you can be compliant worldwide, not only in the United States, because everybody knows like the SEC is kind of a world leader in terms of regulations, right, of securities. The other one is liquidity. So this new way of interchanging value of companies will also democratize the access to non-accredited investors or accredited investors. But that's something that legally we will discuss later. And the last one is efficiency, right? So efficiency is one of our main attractive things about using Securitize as well, which will eliminate middlemen and save time and money for us as a startup.
Great. Thank you very much, Daniel. Appreciate it. That actually closes it out for us. Thanks everyone for listening. We hope you have a better understanding of what a digital security is and why we are so excited to be using digital securities at Genobank. If you have any questions, we'll be adding some information in the description blocks below. if you'd like to contact Securitize or anyone at Genobank. Thanks a lot, everyone. Appreciate it.